It is education. Sorry.
The education.
I'm gonna change
What does that even? What does that mean to you?
Resources, learning how to work, learning how to move around a professional workforce.
You need to go to college to learn that?
Yes, I'd say
I
so.
think you're being scammed, man. Take it from someone who didn't go to college. You don't need any of that stuff.
In recent years, woke culture has become a hot topic on college campuses. But there are individuals who aren't afraid to step in and challenge those ideas. One of those individuals is Charlie Kirk. He is a well-known conservative commentator and the founder of Turning Point USA, and he often takes his message directly to students. Woke college students frequently find themselves facing off against him, as he critiques what he views as the excesses of identity politics and political correctness. It is always interesting to see how these exchanges unfold. Join us as we dive into some moments where Charlie Kirk takes on woke college students and see how these encounters play out.
Who were married to children in the past and normalized in that society, should they go to prison?
Pedophiles.
Like, if you could go back in time, would you put those pedophiles in prison that married those children because it was normalized? They were deceived into thinking it's okay. Would you put them in prison?
You got to slow down.
Sorry.
Pedophiles should get the death penalty.
No, so you'd go back in the past, you'd give them the death penalty even though they were deceived into thinking it was okay? But you said people who get abortions who are women shouldn't go to prison.
But it's not currently illegal.
Okay, regardless.
Pedophilia
at that time it wasn't.
No, I would not go back and retroactively enforce laws where things were currently not illegal.
You wouldn't put pedophiles in prison in the past.
Hold on a second. When was it illegal? When was it legal in America?
Well, child marriage was legal in America throughout the early 1900s and especially throughout most of society for thousands of years, especially in the Old Testament and in the Bible.
Charlie's exchange with Parker's telling. Parker jumps into this wild hypothetical about historical norms and pedophilia to draw some parallel. But it's a classic example of overcomplicating an argument in order to seem profound. You have to wonder why these woke students reach for the most extreme examples to make their point.
You're doing a red herring. Go back to
No, it's not. What's a red herring?
A red herring is where you avoid the topic and you say something that is adjacent or symmetrical to what I'm saying, but not actually I'm saying.
You mean a reductio ad absurdum? That's not a red herring.
A 6 to 8 week baby, if they're allowed to continue to develop, what ends up happening?
At a certain point, it will become a sentient being in the future. The same way that if I keep engaging in sex with my girlfriend, there'll be a baby in the future. Yet I don't care about the sperm.
Unless you're infertile, which we don't know. But let's see the process of development, right? Why
do you want to answer my question yet?
Why do you have the ability or the right?
Should those child P3Os go to prison?
The process of
should the pedophiles go to prison?
From 1904.
Charlie's stance, of course, stays rooted in the present reality, holding people accountable for actions that harm others. It's clear that Parker's approach is to blur the lines of modern discussions by dragging in far-fetched historical scenarios. Just shows how far some will go to avoid addressing straightforward questions about today's standards and issues.
I think you spread bigotry. I think you piss a lot of people off because you're just an awful person. I don't think you really want to debate because you're just here to piss people off and energize your crowd of racists.
What have I ever said that's racist?
Oh, what?
Can you name one thing?
I'm Hispanic, can I support Charlie?
Can you name
Does that mean anything?
Can you name a second thing I've ever said that's racist?
I think you're just trying to play a game, and I think this is obviously going to be used
What have I ever said that's hateful?
I just want to hate you. You're awful. Get off my campus.
When have I ever said anything that's hateful? Have a nice day. He can't say anything I've ever said that's racist, because I've never said anything that's racist. That is the American left in one picture, everybody.
This is a classic scene. Charlie Kirk stays collected while a student goes on an emotional tirade, accusing him of spreading hate and bigotry without backing it up with facts. It's almost predictable at this point. When they run out of arguments, they resort to personal attacks and theatrics. Charlie's calm response only highlights how some people can't handle an opposing view without getting triggered. It's more about grandstanding than having a real debate, and that just proves Kirk's point about how free speech on college campuses is under siege by those who claim to be tolerant.
How many weeks do you think that a fetus is viable?
Well, viability and moral worth are two different things.
No, but I'm asking you, at how many weeks do you think a fetus is viable?
Well, at about 20 weeks, a baby can survive outside of utero.
So it's actually 24 to 26 weeks?
Well, it's 20. The youngest ever in a NICU unit actually happened in San Diego, not far from here, and survived at 20 weeks.
Okay, so under Roe v. Wade, 93% of abortions happened in the first 13 weeks of pregnancy. That's 93% of the abortions happened well before a fetus is technically viable.
When Naima steps up to debate Charlie, she goes straight into the question about fetal viability, trying to pin him down on specifics. It is interesting how she throws out the 24 to 26 week range, expecting that to be the clincher. But Charlie's ready, pointing out that a baby survived at 20 weeks in San Diego, which completely disrupts her argument.
Why is it that the 6-week baby is of less moral worth?
Well, first of all, it's not a baby, it's a fetus.
Well, what does fetus mean?
A fetus is in utero.
What does fetus mean in Latin?
What the I'm sorry, is this
It means little human being.
It's a classic moment where the conversation shows that viability isn't as clear-cut as the pro-abortion side likes to claim.
Ooh, his smile is very creepy. Okay,
Smiling is creepy?
No, your smile specifically.
Got it.
But let's go back to, we're losing track here.
No, but what species is the fetus?
The fetus is not a species yet. It's technically classified as a parasite until it is viable.
So,
I want to talk to you about something very quickly.
I can't let you get past that. Are you saying a baby is a disease or a tumor?
You can almost see the gears turning as Naima realizes that her point isn't as solid as she thought.
A parasite is not a disease and a tumor. Those are not the same thing. A parasite is defined as something that cannot survive outside of its host. A baby, before it is viable, cannot survive outside of a woman's womb.
Got it. So let's extrapolate that.
It is not a living organism.
Now let's move to another campus where he discusses economic and social equality.
Can you explain to me why
they have the strictest immigration policies in Europe, in Norway, Sweden, Finland, and they don't pay for a national military. 70 to 80% tax rates for the highest earners, of which I oppose completely. Sweden has full school choice, which I'm sure you support, right?
I don't.
Oh, okay, but Sweden has full school choice.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
Sweden's also ranked higher.
If all schools are funded equally, then yeah, I would support school choice. But the fact is that schools in like richer areas have better funding and thus give people better education, as opposed to poorer areas, and thus poor people who can't afford to like choose that rich school, who can't commute, who can't like afford the tuition, are not going to be able to get that level of education.
So, in this clip, Charlie Kirk is talking to a student about her idea of economic and social equality. She starts with the usual point that everyone should have the same opportunities. But then when Charlie pushes her to define what that actually means, she stumbles a bit. It's telling, because a lot of these woke students have big ideas that sound great on the surface, but then they just fall apart when questioned. Charlie asks if her vision is like Cuba or Venezuela, where enforced equality led to economic ruin and suffering. She quickly backpedals and says, well, not like them, but struggles to explain how her version of equality would be different. He brings up how the Soviet Union tried forced equality and that ended in disaster, making her ideology look naive when it's faced with real-world examples.
How about this? We had a black president elected twice in 2008 and 2012.
Oh man, so since a black president was elected, we fixed racism,
we
right?
quintupled, we haven't finished racism, we're significantly less racist. So the talking point of the far left is that the inequities that the black community and minority communities are experiencing is because of systemic racism. In order for that argument to be true, America would have had the same sort of amount of racism in the last 60 years or gotten more racist. Any sort of logical analysis of history would show we're significantly less racist today than they were in the 1960s. So then what is it?
Any level of racism is still racism, dude.
I think there's individual racism, but the idea that there's widespread systemic racism does not exist.
Okay, so here's an example. You guys want to, okay, so up until probably the mid-70s, neighborhoods could choose not to sell homes to black people. That's why a lot of black people live in certain parts of town, you would say. And those are also generally parts of town that have underfunded schools and stuff like that.
So the Asian community went through the exact same type of discrimination, yet the Asian community is the richest community per race in America.
So are you implying something about the black community?
No, you know what I'm saying? I'm saying the Asian community did not have a series of social welfare programs designed at them, such as federal welfare systems, broken public schools. The Asian community were one of the poorest communities in the 1940s. Now they are the richest community per race in America. How did that happen?
So you're saying black people are...
They were taking advantage. Black people are poor because of the Democrat Party, who got them addicted to government benefits, stuck them in clustered urban areas, put them in broken schools.
What's interesting here is how the conversation highlights a common issue with woke thinking. the belief that intentions matter more than outcomes. The student wants everyone to have equal opportunities, but hasn't considered how policies aimed at enforcing equality can lead to unintended consequences.
Show me one urban area where there's more Republican congressmen than Democrat congressmen.
Like currently?
Yes, or even the last 50 years. It's Democrats that run the urban cities. Oakland, Portland, Chicago, Philadelphia. But these are the most, so you said thankful, but these are the worst parts of America. The most murderous, the most bankrupt, the most hopeless are all run by Democrats.
Yeah, but there's no way you can make some sort of causation if there's no sort of control for that.
Yeah,
you can't say it would be worse without a Republican. No, there's no way you can make that sort of inference. It's impossible.
So
you just can't make that inference.
Okay,
you
so
don't have data for it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so
stop trying to make shit up.
Okay, can I give you examples?
No.
Oh, you don't want facts?
They're not facts.
Do facts bother you?
No.
Charlie points out that while equality of opportunity is important, forcing equality of outcome often creates more problems than it solves.
What makes Justice Justice Barrett more qualified than Justice Brown?
First of all, what does your shirt say? I can't see that.
Trump 24 years in prison.
Oh, okay, yeah. Got it. Yeah, got it. But we could talk about that in a second. I was like seeing double. I was like, are you a Trump fan or not? Because, yeah, obviously not. Yeah, I mean, how is Ketanji Brown Jackson's Ivy League credentials impressive if she got in with affirmative action? Why is that impressive? And by the way, Amy Coney Barrett did her entire hearing without a shred of notes in front of her. You remember that? She had nothing but a notepad, all from memory. Ketanji Brown Jackson, I will just ask you, do you think it's important that one of the 9 people determining the most important interpretation of our laws knows what a woman is?
In this debate, Charlie Kirk discusses Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson's inability to define what a woman is during her confirmation hearings. A gender activist questions him, trying to point out the perceived double standards in comparing Justice Jackson's and Justin Barrett's qualifications. Kirk's response focuses on the ideological implications of Jackson's inability to define such a fundamental concept, arguing that it reflects how deeply woke ideology has infiltrated even the highest levels of law and governance. Kirk's point is clear. If a Supreme Court justice cannot or will not define what a woman is, then how can we trust her to make decisions on gender-related legal matters? The gender activist tries to redirect the conversation towards Jackson's credentials, which are impressive, but Kirk isn't questioning her intelligence or resume. Instead, he's emphasizing the impact of ideology over logic in crucial discussions.
So, why shouldn't a person be socially welcome to identify with gender outside of the binary?
Well, anyone can pretend to be something they're not, but that doesn't make them the thing that they're not. Can I be black?
No.
Oh, but why can't I socially become black? Blackface, right? I can pretend, wear camouflage, masquerade as something that I'm not, right? How's that different than a trans person?
Race and gender are two completely separate things. They have nothing to do with each other, and the existence of being transgender does not imply the existence of being transracial.
So you can pretend to say that you have ovaries when you don't, but you can't put makeup on to pretend to be a black person.
When these activists are faced with the fact that their beliefs can sometimes defy basic definitions and logic, emotions run high, which likely led to the tears in this case. The clip underlines a broader issue: how extreme views on gender can shift public discourse away from reality and into a realm where language and definitions lose their traditional meanings. It's not that people like Kirk want to ignore the complexities of gender. They just push back on abandoning clarity and common sense for the sake of appeasing an ideology. Thanks for joining us today. If you found the video insightful, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content that dives deep into the conversations that matter.